Hi everyone! I want to show you how I am storing my Paper Pumpkin stamps. So Paper Pumpkin is a kit from Stampin' Up! And it includes parts and pieces to make usually cards, sometimes some other projects, but you get a stamp set that you can reuse in the kit. But I don't have any good way to store these. So I have came up with my own way to store these based on several videos that I watched that had a bunch of different ideas. So I got this box here. I believe I got this at Michael's. Here's the label. It's not exactly what I wanted. What I really wanted was an acrylic drawer so that I could open the drawer and see all my stamp sets. But for now, this will do. So let's open it and I'll show you the end result, and then I'll show you how I make them. So I have them in this box, and there's a little label right here that tells me what month and year each of the stamp sets is, and it's in chronological order from newest in the front to oldest in the back. Some of these stamps, sometimes usually once a year, Stampin' Up! Will give us a little bonus stamp. So I just have one that says like 2022 March, and then there's a 2022 or 2020, sorry, March bonus stamp set. So those both came in the same month. So I want to show you how I made my little cards here. Let's set that aside. I'm using these clear acetate envelopes. This is the package they come in. I got them from Amazon, but this Link Yo, they are 5.75 by 7.5, and there's 50 in a package. They don't have a lot of stiffness to them, but what I did to make it have some form and substance, see, once I put the stuff in here, it's got some substance to it. I printed the inserts on cardstock. So Paper Pumpkin Stampin' Up! Provides an image that will print on 8.5 by 11 paper of the front. It basically fits in a case for stamps so that you could store this in a stamp case, but I don't want to use that much room to store this small of a stamp. So I print the insert on cardstock to give my little envelope some substance. And I also printed them black and white. I have a color printer, but I purposely printed them on black and white because I don't want the colors of the original print, of the original kit, to influence the colors I want to use in my card. I want to be I want to be able to freely make more color choices without having a preconceived notion of what the colors were in the original kit. So I cut this part down, and here's my measurements. I cut this piece. First I cut it, let's see here. I had to make my notes. I'm going to cut it on the spine. Step 1, right here. So I put this in my paper trimmer and I cut it right here. And then step 2, I cut off the top. That's this part. And this is my little sample packages so that I can remember for future kits what I did. So step 1, cut it here. Step 2, cut it here. And then I measure from here over, and I cut it at 7.5 because that's the size of my envelopes. And then I come down this way and I cut it at 5.5. And there's usually just a little bit to trim off here. So that gets this to size. And then the image of the stamps in the stamp set, the first cut I cut close to the top because when my envelopes are in my box and I'm flipping through them, I want the image to be closer to the top than centered. Because if it was centered, I would have to look a little bit farther down to see the stamps that are in there. However, if it's at the top, I can see the stamp images easier. So I trim it close to the top. Then I trim it 5 inches over from this edge. 5 inches this way, and then it's 5.5 inches tall this way. So there's my measurements and how I cut everything. I'm going to set that aside. And then I also, for my sample, I put it in the envelope a specific way. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So in my little plastic envelope here, I have my flap on the bottom and my openings on top. I want this sheet to go upside down here. I got it wrong. It goes right side up this way here, because when all my little parts and pieces, my stamp set basically, are in here, I'm going to tuck this flap in against this front page, and then the parts and pieces won't come out because the flap is flush against that piece of paper. So the cardstock goes in with the flap on the bottom side. Then I flip it over. I'm going to put my stamp image in. And then here's my stamp image. Before I put these in my box, I label them. I got my label maker out, and I make 2 of the identical labels. So this one, for example, is 2019 December. That's what this stamp set is. So I'm going to peel that label off. And I'm going to put one label in the upper right hand corner here. And I'm going to put one label on my stamp set. That way, when I have my stamp set out, and I may have 2 or 3 or more out, I can easily identify what envelope this goes back into. And I try to just pick a spot that doesn't impede my vision of the stamps. It doesn't really matter where it goes, they're all a little bit different, but this way I can easily tell that this goes back in this envelope. And then I can just slide it in here. If you slide it between the 2 pieces of cardstock, then you can still see this image very clearly. And then to tuck it in, you're going to go on the front side of the cardstock here, so that if something should happen and this gets turned upside down, the stamp set is not going to fall out this opening because it's on the other side of this cardstock. So the other things is, I did make my labels year and then month because I'm storing them chronologically, and that just made sense to me. But this way I can easily put them back in the order that they go. I can easily identify what what stamp set goes in what envelope. And I'm ready to file this away. So I would just find the spot where it belongs and tuck it away in my box that I wish was a drawer. I tried a couple acrylic boxes, but they came out just too small to store these. So for now, I've got the box. I think that's all I wanted to tell you. So that's how I store my paper pumpkin stamps. If you have any questions, you can leave me a note. And, oh, I know, I did have 2 other things I wanted to tell you. You could, if you desire, store these instead of horizontally. You could store them vertically, either this way or this way, and cut these so that they fit this direction vertically instead. And then if you're left-handed, I put my opening on the right-hand side because I'm right-handed. But if you're left-handed, let's take this out. We would put our envelope opening on the left side. And put this in this way. Put our cardstock in this way. And then put our stamps in here. And then tuck this in just like before. But this time our opening's on the left, so that if you're left-handed, it's easier for you to open it and grab your stamp set. So that's just, something that you can modify for yourself, depending on how you want to sort it. The other thing, the way that I have mine sorted, which is towards the right, now I have to do it again. This piece, let me just grab another one. This piece that has the year and the month on it is going to be upside down in my box. But I don't really care because this is the side I'm interested in. So I just wanted to point that out too. All right, good luck. Happy organizing.